looking pretty good for Trump. You'd rather be on Trump's team than the other team right now. They're not looking so good from some of these markets and some of these polls. Oh no, is this crashing back down to reality? And that one's really spreading apart there again. So what was that? Why did it get so close there? 53 to 46. Trump's gains with Pennsylvania Latinos are real, maybe enough to withstand the, quote, island of garbage fake stupid joke. The latest election polls in the final day before people cast their ballots in this historic election looking pretty good for Trump. You'd rather be on Trump's team than the other team right now. They're not looking so good from some of these markets and some of these polls. But as always, we're not getting complacent because we remember what happened back in 2016. They were feeling pretty good. Remember, they kept saying 98% and stuff like that, that Clinton was going to beat Trump, and that didn't happen. So we don't count scoreboard until the end. But the point is, we're in not a bad position, right? Much better than we were in 2020 and 2016. So looking good here from election betting odds, and we'll poke through a couple of the other markets. For example, this is Poly Market, and they've got an update for us. They say, look, all right, this is how this is going to resolve. If you got money on the market, they say the market resolves when the Associated Press, Fox, and NBC all call the election for the same candidate. In the unlikely event that doesn't happen, the market will remain open until inauguration and resolve to whoever gets inaugurated. All right. So AP, Fox, and NBC, if they all call it for somebody, it's done. If you would prefer to trade the market that's resolved only by who gets inaugurated, then you can visit that market here. And let's see if that market's any different. That market has a lot lower volume, 2 million in volume. And so different. Now here you can see things were getting pretty tight here over the weekend. And we were wondering, oh no, is this crashing back down to reality? Some people were saying there was some big Democratic money that was being dropped over the weekend to boost Kamala's numbers up. Or it's just people who just are betting and they're just like, well, I'm going to take these odds and trying to wager. But this morning, it's now pulling apart again. Trump's back up to 59% on Poly Market. And that's just one market. We've also got Kalshi, which is becoming very popular out there these days, which is reporting similar numbers. You can see 195 million in volume on this market. So some big money. Whoa. And that one's really spreading apart there again. So what was that? Why did it get so close there? 53 to 46. Was that stupid Iowa poll that we'll talk about? Interesting. Those numbers are emerging back again, and we'll keep our eye on it. Now, elsewhere, if you're looking at the other polls, some people scoff at the markets. They say, well, that's just for gamblers and degenerates, but we like the real polls. Okay, well, here's what Real Clear Politics has assembled for us. Again, these numbers look pretty good, and now's a good opportunity to get your predictions in. And I think this chart looks pretty good, actually, other than Wisconsin. I think that Wisconsin for sure will go to Trump. If I had to draw a map out, I'd say, yeah, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Sun Belt. I think Trump picks all those up. The one here, I'd say maybe Wisconsin flips because Trump did pick that up in 2020, not by a big number, but still, I think that pops. Like if Pennsylvania pops, maybe Wisconsin pops too. Got my doubts about Michigan. We got Jocelyn Benson there. She is one of the most rigged secretaries of states in the entire country. So I've got my concern about that one, a little bit about Michigan. But if there's a wave, and remember, those margins were much bigger in 2020. It was like 190,000 votes. Even though Jocelyn says there's about a couple 100,000 people on there on the rolls who probably should not be on the rolls, who are slated for cancellation in the next elections. But my point is, these numbers are looking pretty good for Trump. So here is their aggregate, 287 to 251. Trump emerges victorious, and we're looking forward to that. So you can see here are the latest numbers from Real Clear Politics. Trump's up, up, up. And 4 years ago, right, you can see that the numbers, according to them, were in favor of Biden. So the Real Clear Politics average in Pennsylvania right now, Trump's up plus 0.3, right? Like nothing. It's virtually tied. But 4 years ago, Biden was up 1.2 and Biden won. Same thing. Harris in Wisconsin, right? Harris in Wisconsin in 2024 right now is up 0.4. Biden was up 6.7 and he only won by 0.7, right? That's why I'm like, Wisconsin, man, come on. Just barely won. It's probably fraudulent there. 0.07, it was like 11,000 votes. It was like nothing. So Trump won that. Biden barely won that. So, and Kamala's up 0.4. Give me a break. So I think Trump is going to pull Wisconsin off. Let's go. We got Michigan. This one's a little bit bigger, right? Because Biden had plus 2.8 in 2020 and he was polling at 4.2. Kamala, gosh, he could even still pull Michigan off. 1.2 is their Real Clear average as of today. Trump's up 2.5 in Arizona. He should definitely win Arizona. Trump's up up +1 in Nevada. Biden was reporting 1 by 2.4, so those polls were dead on. Georgia, Trump's up. 4 years ago, Trump was up in Georgia, but Biden won that because of Fannie Willis. Well, Fannie Willis wasn't in charge back then, but because of the Fulton County, right, is really what we're talking about when that happened. North Carolina, Trump's up +1.5, and Trump won that last time, so hopefully he wins that again. Virginia, Kamala's up 5.8. Ugh, gross. And Minnesota, she's up 4.8. So Trump's up big in Ohio, 7.1. So good numbers over there, and we're hopeful that that is the outcome. Actually, we hope it's much bigger than that. We want to break 300, baby. Let's go. All right, so top battleground state polls. You can see similar numbers are being reported here in the individual states. You've got Trump showing in the lead in various locations. Even Wisconsin is very close, 0.04. So you can see looking good. Now, obviously, not getting ahead of ourselves. Decision Desk HQ, they reported this number from The Hill, and The Hill gave us these details from their 2024 elections. They've got it basically broken down here as a toss-up. So 235. So Trump's starting off in a better position, and then you can just pick up any of these swing states. They're giving North Carolina to Trump. Pennsylvania still a toss-up. Michigan's a toss-up. Wisconsin, Georgia, all the others are toss-ups. So chances of winning, they've got Trump 54 to 46. Electoral College projections, they say Trump pulls ahead 277 to 261. Wow, even The Hill, man. So they must be just having a rough time there at The Hill because that's like their team. Now, what's going wrong with all of this? Well, there was this new one saying that Trump's gains with Pennsylvania Latinos are real, maybe enough to withstand the, quote, island of garbage fake, stupid joke that they turned into something that was a big deal, or allegedly a big deal. I don't think anybody cared about it at all. But the Trump campaign has made an audacious play for the fast-growing Puerto Rican and Dominican population in New York, and they're probably tired of being called Latinxes, you know. Eddie Moran's got a bit of a swagger. It's 3 weeks past until the presidential election, and this other guy, they say, until recent years, almost all of these elected officials were white. And they're talking about that. Now, downtown office has a new tenant. Trump 2024, baby. And they're actually creating locations there. Right now, Democrats are hopeful they've gotten a last-minute boost with Latinos, courtesy of that joke. They sent out blasts, and they're trying to, like, scare Latinos. In Reading, Moran listed off recent Republican visits. There's something that concerns me with the Democratic Party. I'm worried we're not here as much, said someone else. And so the Latino belt is not going in their favor. Now, things are still tight. New York Times is reporting the following. It says, still basically a deadlock. Final New York Times polls. Arizona, Trump's +4. Georgia, Harris is +1. What? Nevada, Harris +3. North Carolina, Harris +3, right? So those are totally different than the real clear numbers. Wisconsin, Harris is +3. Pennsylvania's even. So usually the final polls point toward a relatively clear favorite, even if that candidate doesn't go on to win. This will not be one of those elections, okay? They're not going to come out and tell anybody the truth about it. Harris led black voters, 84 to 11%, up from 80 to 14. The overall effect of these swings is somewhat contradictory. On average, Miss Harris fared modestly better than our last round of surveys of the same states, but her gains were concentrated in the states where she was previously struggling. Meanwhile, the so-called blue wall, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, does not look quite as formidable of an obstacle to Mr. Trump as it once did. Yeah. A word of caution, hypothetically, many of these late deciders might have told a pollster earlier that they were Harris voters, if only we had called them at that time and asked them to formulate an opinion they hadn't made yet. As a result, the responses to this question don't necessarily explain the shift, but Nevada, an early polling, one of Miss Harris's best results was a 3-point lead in Nevada. That's surprising. Of all the swing states, Nevada has arguably produced some of the worst polls for Democrats. More recently, Nevada has given Democrats some of their most disappointing numbers in early voting. Some Republicans leading in the one state where early voting has tended to be a useful indicator. So what's going on? The poll does reflect a Republican advantage in early voting. Republicans have a 2-point edge by party registration among early voters, but early voters overall nonetheless say they back Harris. And so the Republicans backing Harris. Now, the voters who remain to vote are better for Trump, but there are plenty of Democrats who seem likely to vote as well. It seems like a little bit of a cope there. Many say already they've done so. Perhaps their outstanding mail ballots, everyone in Nevada has sent one, it's like forced mail-in ballot, are sitting on the kitchen table or somewhere in the postal system. The pattern is fairly similar. Democrats lead in early voting, Republicans lead with what remains, and in each case, it's not by the sweeping margins of 4 years ago when the pandemic allowed them to rig everything. So things are tight there. Here is what the New York Post is reporting. This guy, Henry Olsen, in an opinion piece says Trump's going to win. Says even Trump might win the popular vote. I know that's been an opinion that Robert Barnes has been sharing too. Says this guy's been predicting elections for 20 years. Says that's what I'll do this year. Says here's my take. Here's this guy's take. Here's how analyst Henry Olsen predicts things will play out in the Electoral College. All right, so he's got Wisconsin going back over to Trump, which is basically the map. I think it's the same map that I just articulated. So he picks up the Sun Belt, he picks up Pennsylvania, he picks up Wisconsin, and that's the game. All right, says the weight of the evidence leads me to predict that Trump is going to win this, and under a best case scenario, he'll also pick up the popular vote. Otherwise, if he doesn't, he's going to win 297 to 241. Harris will win the popular vote 49.6 to 48.3. Good predictions, man. He's got percentage point predictions. Trump's victory will also carry the GOP to enhance Senate wins, which you would imagine. He said, I did my own examination of national likely voter polls and averaged their partisan crosstabs together. I found that Harris leads with Democrats by 89 points, while Trump leads with Republicans by 87 points. This is likely an insufficient margin for Harris to win because of the way Trump's coalition punches above his belt, his weight class. His blue-collar, white-heavy voting bloc is a larger share of the vote in those very important states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. That's why he could beat Hillary even after he lost the popular vote. So yeah, they're probably getting a little bit nervous out there. And in fact, they are getting nervous out there because Trump is going to emerge victoriously. So let's carry on. And here is what I mean.